When cleaning heavy equipment such as grinders, slicers, mixers, first turn the equipment off and disconnect the power so you don't wind up missing fingers. Don't place your hands into hoppers of any equipment when it's in operation. Seems logical, but I guess it happens or we wouldn't be talking about it. Floor-mounted equipment must be sealed to the floor or have at least 6 inches between the floor and the bottom of the equipment. And why is that? Because the bugs don't like light, so it makes it lighter, enables you to clean under it, and also gives you air circulation. Table-mounted equipment that's not easily moved, that can't just slide out of the way to clean under it, needs to be raised 4 inches above the table surface. So 6 inches off the floor or 4 inches off the table. If you're using hot water to sanitize, in other words, not a chemical, but the water is what's doing the sanitizing in your 3-compartment sink, then you need 171 degrees or above for 30 seconds. So you immerse the product in hot water at 171 degrees for 30 seconds. Chlorine. If you're using chlorine, that would be 50 parts per million in 75 degree temperature for a minute. Chlorine, 50 parts per million, 75 degrees, water. Quaternary ammonium, or quartz, is affected by hard water, so you wouldn't use it in an area that has hard water, so such as Vegas. So we have, we're high in chemicals in the water, so hard, and so we would not use quartz here. We'd use chlorine, or you can also use iodine. So what do you do if you show up in the morning and the hot water's out? The dishwasher doesn't work, the dish room is under construction. What do? You should use single-use disposable dishes and utensils. Now you'd think that's illogical, but there was a restaurant outside of Chicago a couple years ago, famous brand restaurant, and they had no hot water for a few days, and they had no water at all for a few days. Actually, the hot water was out for almost a week, and guess what? A bunch of people got sick, and guess what? They had to pay the health department about $35,000, if I remember right, to for the administration to check everybody out, all the customers, find them, and let them know. So don't do that. If you can't properly clean the dishes, then use disposable. The minimum washing temperature in your 3-compartment sink is no less than 110 degrees. Or if you're using chemical cold water system, then follow the chemical manufacturer's directions. But if it's if you're not using chemicals, then it's 110 degrees. Now for the rinse tank, it was 171, so keep that straight. And for the wash tank, it's 110 degrees. 110 for wash, 171 for sanitize. Wash, rinse, and sanitize solutions must be kept clean and changed regularly. Why is that? Because if you don't, then the food and other things that go in there will dilute the water, and then the soap won't work, and you get some soap and food in the sanitizer, and the sanitizer won't work. So if you want everything to work, you need to change your solutions regularly. When the sanitizer is too weak, do you just dump some more in, or do you change it? No, you change it. So as soon as the test strip says there's not enough sanitizer, then you need to empty it and put new sanitizer, new water in the tank. Difference between cleaning and sanitizing. A cleaning compound is a chemical substance designed to loosen and remove all soil and dirt. Examples would be soap, detergent, acid, and abrasive cleaners. Sanitizers, on the other hand, are chemical substances to reduce harmful bacteria on clean surfaces to safe levels. Examples would be chlorine, iodine, or quaternary ammonium-based chemicals. So clean means there's no dirt, and sanitize means you've gotten rid of the dirt, and then you put, say, the sanitizing solution on, which kills the bacteria. Why don't you just clean and sanitize at the same time? Because it just doesn't work that way, and the sanitizer won't work unless it can get to the bug, and it can only get to the bug if the dirt has been removed. Sanitary means the surface is free of visible dirt or other soil and safe levels of harmful microorganisms or bacteria. Sanitary, free of visible dirt and other soil, and has safe level of harmful microorganisms or bacteria. Dry or damp cloths or paper towels are okay to use, but you can never use a sponge. Why would that be? Because you can't clean a sponge properly. So at home we use them, but at work you can't, because you really can't wash a sponge. So one surface must be sanitized. It must be cleaned first and then sanitized. Appropriate concentrations of chlorine, iodine, or quaternary ammonium or other approved chemicals must be used. How do you know if the sanitizer will work? How do you know if you used enough? You're going to use a test kit to make sure that the concentration in your sanitizer is correct. If you just wipe your cutting board with a paper towel, like most people do most of the time, or you just wash it, or you just rinse it, you'll spread the bacteria from one product to another, cross-contamination. So you can't just wipe it with a paper towel, or just wash it, or just rinse it. You got to do all three. So you got to clean the item like a cutting board with soap, and then you rinse the item with a sanitizer. Cleaning frequency. Equipment, food contact surfaces must be cleaned every time the task involves a different type of raw animal: beef, fish, pork, lamb, poultry. Change from raw to ready-to-eat foods. Change from raw fruits and vegetables and potentially hazardous foods. At least every 24 hours for iced tea dispensers and customer self-service utensils. And before using or storing a thermometer. So different type of raw animal. If you're changing from beef, and then you're going to work on some fish, and then you're going to work on some pork. Changing from raw to ready-to-eat foods like tomatoes, let's say from pork to tomatoes. Change from raw fruits and vegetables and potentially hazardous foods. Every 24 hours for iced tea dispensers and things that the customer serves and uses themselves, and before using or storing a thermometer. Equipment or food contact surfaces that are used continuously must be cleaned and sanitized at least once every 4 hours. You have a Cambro container that's used to take food to private functions. What is most important about that container to avoid foodborne illness? So you're going to use that Cambro container. You're going to take it out to a function that's away from your workplace. What do you have to do first? Make sure that it's cleaned and sanitized before putting food in it. We saw that in relation to the norovirus, if you remember that. Floors, walls, and ceilings must be well maintained and cleaned regularly. Surfaces must be smooth or non-absorbent so that they're easy to clean. Surfaces should be light colors so that soil is readily visible. A light surface color brightens the room and increases visibility. Grease traps must be easily accessible for cleaning. In the front of the house, the dining room, here's some tips. Between picking up dirty dishes and resetting the table with clean dishes, hands should be washed. Or separating the tasks would be even better, so the bus person doesn't put out the clean dishes and the waitstaff does that. So either that, or the problem is you contaminate your hands if you go out and pick up the dirty dishes and then you grab some clean dishes. So either have them wash their hands between, or just have the bus persons do the taking away of the dirty dishes and don't have them put out the clean dishes. Otherwise, have them wash their hands first. Between uses, the cloth used to wipe the table should be kept in a sanitizing solution. We have to love this when we see it, right? Don't wipe the crumbs on the floor from the table. What good does that do? You need to wipe them in. You need to wipe them off into something you can catch and throw the crumbs away, not on the floor. Clean and sanitize the table between customers. Don't just wipe it with a dry cloth, otherwise the next customer gets the last customer's bacteria. Now, how often should you do that? You just have to kind of decide. In a busy place, you can't do that between every customer, but maybe every half hour you go through and clean and sanitize the tables, and not just wipe them off. Service animals. What is a service animal? First of all, that's like a seeing eye dog, an epilepsy dog, or something like that. Can they be in a restaurant? Yes, they can be anywhere in a restaurant. And better don't put them in the back of the room because the people can't see. So get them as close to the door as you can. And those are okay. So other kinds of animals like your pet or police dogs and that type of thing would not be allowed in most places. Now, as in California, they allow it. We were in restaurants in the wine region, and they all had their dogs in there. So I guess in that county, you're allowed to do it. Pretty much the only thing you can reuse once you have given it to the customer is individually wrapped crackers and jelly packets. Everything else has to go in the trash. So things like crackers and jelly packets, you can put them back in your stock and reuse them. At a catered buffet function, what types of things could you use to take the load off your staff and prevent cross-contamination? That would be things like pump dispensers for ketchup, mustard, and dressings. I'm not saying it's fancy. The question is, you want to take a load off your staff, make it easier, and don't cross-contaminate like when you're opening up packets. Although pump dispensers can cross-contaminate too if you hit them too hard. When a customer goes back to the buffet for more food, you need to make sure they get a new plate and the staff removes the used plate from the table. So you don't want people going up with their old dirty plate. What you can allow would be a glass, depending on the type of dispenser you have. But if they don't have to touch the glass to the nozzle, then you can bring their glasses back to self-serve dispenser.